that, and I didn't think about that for a long time until I started getting into reading some Hindu scriptures. That's bad karma. It's not your place. Your place is you have the money. This person needs it, whether they need it because they're freaking alcoholics and they need to get some beer or whatever. That's not your problem. You fulfilled your role by giving this person something. You've done your thing by giving it. If you don't give somebody something because you want to live their life and they're living their life a way that you don't agree with, then that's bad karma, because what you're doing is you're saying, you don't think the way I think, you don't live the way I live, you didn't make the correct decision, so you don't get anything. So that's bad karma. And there's a lot of situations like that I've seen lately, and so I try to identify that, and I try to minimize that as best I can. Sometimes it's a little counterintuitive, but the fact is that if you are doing something in order to try to coerce somebody else into doing something that you want them to do or to live the way you want them to live, can't do that. Can't do that, because that's not your place.
Before we get off the political stuff, I have one more thing that has just been it's like an itch I can't scratch.
Okay.
I'm about ready to start punching climate Nazis.
Climate, yeah.
And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Just like politicians who push for it, and we've seen it all the way down the line. I mean, this whole climate nonsense started back in the 60s when they told us we'd run out of food by 1980.
Yeah.
They always want you to change. They're not going to do anything about it, but you need to change.
Yeah. You don't. Don't drive your car. Don't drive your car to my speaking engagements that I'm taking my private jet to. Don't do that, because I need fuel from my private jet. That's Al Gore, by the way. That was an Al Gore reference, in case anybody missed it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Al Gore took all the money he made off of that deal. By the way, him getting the Nobel Peace Prize after what he did, it really took down the idea of a Nobel Peace Prize in my eyes.
Okay, well, when Barack Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize, and they figured after doing the math that somebody nominated him before he was even president, that made the Nobel Peace Prize look pretty dirty to me. So I don't know what went on with that one.
I'm with you on that one as well, because I sat there and I went, he was given the Nobel Peace Prize for being black.
He was.
No other reason. He had done nothing other than, by the time he got it, he had done nothing but been elected president.
Yeah, he'd only been president for like a couple of months, and somebody figured out that it takes almost 9 months to be from a nomination to confirmation. So he had to have been nominated 6 months before he was president. Now, what does that say? Yeah, that says something dirty.
I sat there and I went, there's been many people elected president. The only thing that made him different at that moment in time, in fact, many presidents before him had a record of actually doing things that they ran.
Real quick, he had a record. His vote record in legislation was freaking ridiculous. They said he'd only voted on a handful of things, and a lot of people that were looking at it were saying that the powers that be were grooming him to be president because they didn't want him to have a divisive vote record. So that's why he didn't vote on anything. It wasn't that he was an incompetent. Well, he was probably incompetent. It wasn't that he was an incompetent legislature, but that he was. They didn't want him to have a vote record that would divide the country. They wanted to make sure that he had a super clean vote record. Yeah, it was pretty dirty.
I think it was because they talked about it. They talked about it in some podcasts I was listening to, and I think it's Sadat. No, not Sadat. He was the president of Egypt. One of the terrorists, whose name was really big during the 70s, one of the Arab leaders who engaged in terrorists.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember who's. I know who you're talking about.
Arafat.
Arafat. Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
he was given the Nobel Peace Prize in 1993 for. Hold on. Oh, this is great. For restricting for not doing terrorist things. I went.
That's hilarious. Oh, I get it. You know what? Here's the thing. That's brilliant. I'm gonna research that one because that's freaking brilliant.
I'm pretty sure, more or less, that obviously I'm simplifying the thing, but when you break it down to its most basic thing, he was given a Nobel Peace Prize for not doing terrorist actions.
Yeah.
Something that 90% of the world does, 98% of the world does every freaking day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. He was the leader of Fatah. Oh yeah, he's a Palestinian leader. Heck yeah. Let's see. I'm in Wiki. I'm trying to see where. Oh, Palestinian Authority. Let's see, where is he? I can't find it. I'll have to look for it. Yeah. Anyway,
it might not be him, but I was pretty sure it's him. It was one of those guys who was known for doing some pretty horrendous shit. It'd be like Hitler ending World War II and saying, "Okay, I'm done with the systematic annihilation of the Jewish culture." He stopped. Let's give the Nobel Peace Prize.
He's all peaceful now.
Yes, that was, when I heard that, I was like, that is insane. The whole idea behind the Nobel Peace Prize, I mean, first of all, it was something created out of a man's conscience, for sakes.
Yeah, you're right. It is Yasser Arafat. I'm trying to see what happened here. They spun it, of course. They're spinning it. They're talking about efforts to create peace in the Middle East, but we happen to know that Yasser Arafat had a whenever you see him, he's always wearing a military uniform. So it's like what's his name? Fidel Castro.
Of the North.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like Castro. He wears that uniform. It's not that he wears that uniform because he likes to because he likes that uniform or for any other reason, but to tell you that I'm a military man and I'm going to fight. So don't, so if you want to, pull some shit, go ahead, but you're not just going to walk. So, and that's exactly what he was saying. When you see radicals like that, everybody has their pluses and minuses. He had his belief system, and he was willing to die and kill to support it, and I can respect that because people like when you look around a lot of places, especially in the United States, people just sitting around watching TV, checking out internet porn and tweeting, but we don't see people stand up and tear the and go through the governor's mansion, tearing shit up and asking him, well, why are you taxing us on this? Why are you taxing us on that? Why are you I don't know. I just found this out. The president pretty much gutted the Affordable Care Act by eliminating the mandate. Yeah. Well, apparently, Gavin Newsom just instituted it for California. Yeah. What the fuck? Who the fuck said that? Who thought that was a good idea? Who said he could do that? Or what he did was he goes, oh, hey, guess what? You're not getting screwed by the government. So guess what? By the federal government. So I'm gonna screw you. It's like, dude, you don't have the authority to do that.
And I'm really hoping somebody takes him to court over it. Because I do believe that is a that could actually go against him and me personally. What I think happened is Pelosi's his aunt, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, they're all intermarried. The Browns, the Feinsteins. It's
Yeah.
very it's
Yeah.
very
We talked about.
incestuous.
Yeah, we talked about the cabal that's going on with that, and it's obvious that she's Speaker of the House and he's Governor of California. So he's and there's a lot of electorates here. So she's obviously uh, tweaking California to make sure that when the elections come around that they vote Democrat.
Well, I'm I do believe that in California that the elections are rigged. I think
Yeah,
that
so do I.
I think people vote that aren't alive. I know there was a guy who wanted to institute. He was running for to be the guy who has the accountability for voting in California, and of course he lost
Uh,
because he was going. There's 82 votes registered to this address, and he was pointing to a business. And
that's dirty. Yeah, there are a lot of people talking about voter ID and talking about that, and I'm like, okay, well the problem is that if you don't have any ID, just anybody can vote. And they were saying, well, sometimes people in certain economic backgrounds can't get a hold of this ID. It's like, well, if you're here, you have a social security card. If you can at least produce that and a bill, like a utility bill, that's completely reasonable. It doesn't have to even be. It doesn't. I wouldn't even say it would even have to be a picture ID, but as long as you have your social security card and a bill that has that name on it at a specific address, I think that's completely reasonable.
well, here's what I'll say, Mike, is that I don't know about outside of California. I know in California, if you were over the age of 18, you were required to have a California state ID minimum.
Yeah.
It's the law, and you have to be able to produce it when they cop at you. It might even be a federal law. I don't know. I know in the state of California. Now, what is the first thing they do to you when you go after you fill out their thing and you take it up to the DMV, which takes forever? What's the first thing they do? They
Snap your
scan your
picture.
thumb. No, they scan your
Your thumbprint. Oh yeah, that's right, huh? Oh,
Guess,
I fucking
guess
forgot
what?
about that.
Everyone
Huh.
everyone has a very unique thumbprint, and it would
Yeah.
not be hard to set
Yeah.
up at the voting booth. You have to put your thumb down. If you have a late vote, to no more mail-in votes. You got to go in. You got to go in. You got to put your thumbprint down. No more bullshit voting.
Well,
You know.
yeah, that's actually pretty smart. You could just have a scanner there. You just walk in, you scan it, get your thumbprint,
Yep.
and then go on and vote. That would be pretty good. Then if you like, because one of the things people were saying, I mean, it's not widespread, but still, it's a legitimate thing. They were saying, well, what if you like, lost your wallet and a couple of days before voting, then you can't vote. Yeah, that's true. I understand that. But if you had your thumbprint, it wouldn't matter. You could just go in there and scan your thumbprint. That'd
Yeah.
be pretty cool. The other thing too is you could actually do it where on a mail-ins, if where you could just have a little box and you just roll your thumb. Now your thumb, you have to do it right,
Yeah.
because it takes a little skill in order to put your thumbprint on there. But if you could figure a way to get a clean thumbprint, like on your ballot, then I think that would be reasonable. I mean, not so much it wouldn't be identifiable, but at least wise, if there was an issue, you could go back and compare the thumbprint and go, okay, well, this is crap. Yeah,
Here's the other thing I figured out about that cabal in Sacramento. You ever notice none of them ever push for any positions higher than what they got? Like none of them are ever shooting for president. And you know why?
Why?
Because as president, first of all, you're under a microscope.
Yeah.
And we know there's so much shady shit that there's no way they would ever pass through that. But number two, there's a time limit on the presidency.